Brian Powell of Iron Far here after the finish of the Chuckanut 50k with Sage Canaday, who finished second today. Congratulations, Sage.
Oh, thank you. It's a great event. Love being out here. Yeah.
This was both your first trail race and your first ultra. Tell us a little bit about this being your first trail race. I mean, have you done much training on trails, or?
Not the type of trails that I saw out here today, especially when they're covered in snow and it's, you know, really muddy. I did grow up in Northwest Oregon, so I'm used to kind of running up and down some hills, which I like, but the trails out here were a lot more technical than I thought, and that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, where are you based now?
Kind of an hour and a half southwest of Portland, Oregon, so Sheridan, Oregon.
So did you get much trail training in when you were preparing for this? Or?
I did, yeah. I took 2 weeks off after the Olympic Trials Marathon, so I had about 5 weeks to prepare for this, and I just did most of my runs kind of on some trails, but like I said before, they weren't nearly as technical as the ones I saw today.
For sure. So how about on the ultra side of things? I mean, you've run, I don't know how many marathons, you've run a significant number of marathons.
Yeah.
You've been in 2 Olympic trials, and ran 216 high last year,
Yeah,
correct?
216.52, yep.
Yep. So you've got the marathon base now. What was it like running for an extra hour and a half?
It was tough. The last 6 miles were excruciating, but it was more the time. Like I've never run for more than 3 hours, and I was out there for closer to 4 hours today, so it was definitely, I kind of fueled myself a little bit differently, and it's a different, being on the trail, it's just a whole different ball game. The whole aspect of, you know, the terrain, the varied terrain, you got to vary your pace, and then going up the hills like chin scraper, you're like power walking, and it's crazy. Yeah.
So you had quite the interesting race itself, because there was a huge pack. I mean, there was a couple guys that went out fast, like Jason Loudit, and somebody's behind, I think Max was behind him, but then there's just like a pack of people. And you were sort of in that pack of people for a while. But by mile 20, you and Max had separated yourself, and you were right on him. Tell us how your race played out after that.
Well, basically, you know, going into this race, I didn't have any experience, so I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I was like, I knew Max because he actually ran for Cornell, and I ran for Cornell.
Okay.
So we're both native Oregonians too. So I knew Max was really good and really experienced. So I was like, just stick with Max. I just try to follow him, and he'd pull away from me a lot on the downhills, and I'd stop at the aid stations. He wouldn't stop at the aid stations. But yeah, by 20 miles, right before chin scraper, we were real close, and I think we had a little bit of a gap. So after that, he opened up on the downhills, and we missed one of the turns. So I followed him going the wrong way too. So
how about how long you guys going downhill?
It's hard to say. It seemed like it might have been close to a half mile.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but it's a steep downhill, and one of the runners coming
and you're on the road there.
Yeah, Cleater Road. So real steep, and then I guess someone told me first, you missed the turn, and so I was like, oh, backtrack. And by then, Max is gone down the hill. He's 100 yards ahead of me, and he just kept going. So, but he was looking real strong. So
so he kept going down longer than you did.
Oh yeah, he went down. He ran like 36 miles today, I think.
Oh man. So you're off course for maybe a half mile, or you go down a half mile. Maybe you're off course for a mile. You get back into the race. Do you have any sense of where you are?
I did, because some of the spectators were telling me, they're like, you're in 4th place now, and you're about 2.5 minutes behind the leaders. And I was like, well, no, I just want to finish. I got my work cut out for me, and fortunately, the last 6 miles were pretty flat.
Because you were in like 6th place at the aid station 5 with 6.5 miles to go.
Yeah. So I was pretty far back, but I could still see a couple of guys. So they were kind of out there, and it was real tough the last 6 miles. I just had to dig, and then I actually took a pretty bad spill 3 miles from the finish. I cut my knee open. I just got 5 stitches. So I lost a lot of blood doing that. It was kind of painful. I kind of laid on the ground for a second. Wasn't sure if I could get back up.
So did you see Adam ahead of you, Adam Cassidy? I mean,
I did, yeah. He was passing guys too. I think there were some lead changes there. So yeah, I saw him. I don't know how far ahead of me he finished. I think maybe about 20 or 30 seconds. So yeah, I definitely saw him on some of the straightaways. But he was looking real strong. Like there's no way I could catch him. I was hurting pretty bad.
So I guess my first question, following that would be, what made you want to do an ultra? I mean, you've actually written a book about like training with the Hansons and been realistic about making a life as a professional road runner. Now you're trying ultras. Let me tell you, the money's not any better in the ultra scene.
You don't do it for the money, but you know, I've always loved running on the trails. I see it's a growing sport. You got a lot of guys like Max King who have a fast marathon time moving into some of these ultras, and I've also heard that 50k is not really considered an ultra to some folks. I know it's not that much farther than a marathon. To me, it felt like an eternity though, because it was
an extra 50% time, or even more than that.
Yeah, and, you know, on a course like this, you're running for almost 4 hours. That's a really long time for me to running. So, you know, the challenge is there. I always felt like I should be doing like 30-mile long runs as part of marathon training too. So, you know, I was hoping that I'd be better actually at the longer distances compared to a marathon. And you know, I always like cross country a lot better than track. I really don't like flat uniform surfaces. So you know, road racing marathons is fun. I still want to do that. I'll still run half marathons on the road too, but I like to mix up the training. I like the variety. Everyone's really supportive. I love the atmosphere here. It's a great event, and I think it's a growing sport, so you know, it's something I want to be involved with.
Cool. So I guess you anticipated my next question. You do plan to run another ultra someday?
Not for a while. I got to take some time off now because I got stitches. But I'm probably going to work on my speed a little bit this spring. A lot of these ultra races are actually kind of hard to get into. I've learned like the longer ones, the real popular ones. But yeah, definitely it was a great experience. I'd like to come back to this race maybe next year, and then I guess I could maybe try to do a fall race.
Yeah, there's a couple good ones.
I don't know if I want to go like 100 miles, but 50 miles seems reasonable, maybe on a not quite such crazy terrain.
So maybe the North Face 50 in December possibility, or
maybe, yeah. I'll have to see. I definitely like to do that.
Or see some of the best of the sport there.
Maybe JFK.
JFK would be,
JFK,
that would suit you very well.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's an awfully long way though. That's a big difference too. So it's definitely a different type of event even.
Yeah.
So.
Well, congratulations on your debut, and I look forward to seeing you out at some more races.
I love it. Yeah, thanks.